Good evening, chat. Hello. We've got a couple of dogs here. They're like, including Clyde. Come here, buddy. Come on. Come on. We got Bon Bon today, and Clyde's like, holy shit, help me. This crazy dog won't leave me alone. Come here, buddy. Clyde, hey. Clyde. Come here, Dingleberry. Whatever. I guess he keeps on looking at me like, help me, fat man. And I'm like, you have to come over here. So, Laser Possum says, Creator Clash 6. You and me, fucker, let's go. We got a couple more Creator Clashes that have to happen before that ever occurs, including number 4 and number 5. But at the rate, Ian and Anissa are going, I don't think that's going to happen. So. That would be fun, though. That'd be fun. Could do all the whole. We need to process our trauma afterwards and all that other shit. Oh, sorry, chat. Sorry, I was cleaning up a bit of a mess. Still working on the new studio. If you guys are new, welcome to the show. My name is Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney in the Cleveland area, and tonight we're talking about the H3 lawsuit against Ethan Kline, against the unstoppable alliance of Denims, Frogan, and Casey Tron, also known as Hasan's Hose, and also his crusade, the most honest and just crusade against a bunch of Reddit mods. Which, you know what? It's hard not to like the man, at least for that alone. And you know what? Like I said, watching them fight, I just hope everybody has fun. Although to make a bunch of Reddit mods suffer at the end of the day, I really don't care who does it, but somebody's making them suffer, and that's the most important thing. That is the most important thing out there. Guys, sorry for putting this up a little late. I thought I hit submit on StreamYard. It didn't go through, so... but anyway, Sula was first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. That's one way to mushroom stamp it. That is one way to mushroom stamp it. So, I was visiting Aaron in jail. Yeah, that's it. Clyde's piano lessons are getting out of hand. They are, man. You don't get it. You think you know what it's like to go do a piano lesson in the middle of the hood. But, when your dog is good and everybody likes it, they want to see your dog. So, Uncivil Law, Kurt, how you doing, guys? Friend of the show, Uncivil Law says, I think I said this, 2 months ago now? Of course they're cooked. Yeah, I understand, but I think really this is what's happening here and what's going to go down. We're going to get to it here. Now, guys, remember, this is ultimately Ethan Kline is suing Denims, Frogan, and Casey Tron for copyright infringement of his content nuke. That's the main effort behind this. And he set it up as a trap, and those retards were dumb enough to get into it. And it was his content nuke on Hasan Piker. Now, he's also suing the Reddit Snark mods for contributory copyright infringement, which you might say, wait, isn't that what the Kiwi Farms being sued for by Russell Greer? Yes. That's also what's going on with the Sony versus Cox case that's going to go in front of the Supreme Court. So, once again, they may actually get out of this at the end of the day, but probably not before Ethan Kline is able to dox them and make them suffer. Which, at the end of the day, that's really what this is all about. Ethan Kline is on a vendetta ride against all these people for making his life and his family's life a living hell. And he's going to make them suffer. And there's nothing wrong with that at the end of the day, chat. You can do that. You can use the law. I mean, he has a valid course of action against these people. And there's nothing wrong with doing it. Making them all suffer because, at the end of the day, they're all commies. So I don't really feel too bad for him. EDW Raptor said to the subs heal 2.0. No, she is still not feeling well. She is still not feeling well. She was joking, she was calling it a man cold, but it's like, you laugh, like, she was trying to laugh about it, but I'm like, colds, when you get a man cold, it's rough. Man, that shit will knock you off your feet. So she jokes about it all day, but um, it's no laughing matter. It's no laughing matter in my opinion. So I hope she gets better. I've taken care of her the best I can. I know she's laying in bed, and Clyde probably went to go back to see her, and he's probably all snuggled up with her and all that, because also it's also probably not helping Clyde. I can hear the wind whipping against the house, and that always makes him panic. So, um, I mean, holy shit, I can hear it right now against the house. Damn, it is going hard. But no, they did not heal her, chat. So we need 100 more subs. Your subs weren't good enough. Your conviction was not strong enough. You did not help her to be healed. The Lord did not answer our prayer. So DSP versus PPP needs to happen. No, why? The moment Phil gets punched, he would run away. He'd be like Charlie Zelnoff in a ring. Sula's saying, is this an executioner sword? Oh, hold on. There? No, that is a German long sword. That's a fetter. It's a fencing one. So it's a practice one, but it's got the little lugs at the top, or above the quills, and that is meant to be for fencing. So no, it is not an executioner sword. Bass player saying, I heard Glock went full cuck. Glock didn't go full cuck. I mean, they've got a bunch of lawsuits, and and James Reeves, I think, brought up a really good point on his video today. Oh my god, it's raining like a motherfucker outside. He brought up a really good point. Glock got away with this for a long time. Normally, if you had submitted this design now to the ATF, they would have told you no. Somehow Glock got away with this for like 30 years. So no, just getting in front of it, and also keep this in mind. For every gun that's out there, somebody's working on an FRT or a switchy for it. So, for example, I showed it on Locals this week. There's a guy who's working on a Beretta 92 FRT. So basically, you could have a Beretta 93 at the end of the day. No matter what they do, somebody will figure out how to make it run like a machine gun. Because remember, the most difficult thing to design is a semi-automatic firearm. Making a machine gun's easy. You could build a Sten submachine gun right now at a parts from Home Depot. Making it semi-auto is where it requires real engineering and real design work. So, no, eventually somebody will figure out how to make the new Glocks full auto too. Don't worry. Don't you worry. That will happen at some point. Yes, Bonbon is back. You need a Bonbon emoji. We'll work on that. Move the Swiffer. Well, I'll work on that at another point. It's staying there for now. It's part of the set. Keopathic says Hasan's horny hose, also called the H3. That's very funny. That's very funny. That is very, very funny. Now, ultimately here, hold on, here I go. Yeah, it was StreamYard's fault. No, it was. Let's see here. I try to give you guys at least 45 minutes to an hour heads up on things. Now, where are Hope Repairs 2.0 is gonna. She's just got a cold. I appreciate that, Marlene. She'll be all right. She'll be all right. She'll be all right. Debbie says, "Oh no, a man cold. Is she gonna make it? I don't know. I don't know. It's serious though. Man colds are no joke. Do we need to call for last rites? I already took care of her. I already, prayed over her, and I put some oil on her feet, so I think she's okay. I think she's okay. My husband used to get those, so I know how bad they can be. They are so bad. They are so bad. Every year I get one, and it's just, I get the man cold, and it's awful. So, Spunk Gun says, I have jury service in the middle of next month. I didn't know you had juries in Britain still. I thought that was pretty much a thing that didn't happen anymore. But good to see you, man. Thanks to you, I already know that if I think the defendant isn't guilty by the end of the Crown Prosecution Service, that's what you call the prosecutors in Britain. It's not Children's Services. It's the Crown Prosecution Service. They're not guilty. There's also nothing wrong with just saying, fuck that law. I don't want that guy being held accountable. Not guilty. So, nothing wrong with just saying not guilty regardless. Shredder says, wait, it's just a cold? It's a man cold, I think. I don't know. It's rough for her, though. So, the Swiffer is my dance partner. Well, yeah, I got to get her some pills. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. All right, guys, now we're going to move on. Togo says here, but isn't Glock just going to embolden an acceleration of this tactic? Yeah, not really. I mean, most other guns aren't really readily convertible like a Glock is. There's a reason why everybody has a switchy. Like, there are switchies for an M&P, I'm pretty sure, but those are a lot, you have to do some work to make an M&P run with a switchy. Glock was the easiest one to do because it's all plastic. And maybe it is, but Glock doesn't want to go bankrupt with lawsuits. And also, they were probably getting pressure to do this, and this kind of alleviates some problems for them, so, they're doing it. I mean, I wish they didn't. I wish they stuck firm, but I'm not the one who's in charge of Glock's bottom line, so, yeah. So, just something to think about. Just something to think about. All right, guys, so let's move on to the lawsuit. Now, Ethan Kline and them, they subpoenaed Reddit, and this is where Denims had already agreed to subpoenas to go to Reddit and Discord for the personal identifying information of these Reddit mods. And we covered this last time. The Reddit mods are scared. They hired their own attorney who immediately inserted himself into the fight to oppose these subpoenas and have them quashed. Now, remember, these Reddit mods, in their declarations, have said things that they receive free software and free services from Reddit administrative staff to help protect their identities and remove things that are on the internet as part of their, I bet the NLRB in employment law, it would probably be considered compensation to an extent. That as part of your job as a mod, we will help protect your identity online and we'll help you scrub it and give you services for that. I would argue that's it's an in-kind, bargain for exchange there. So the Reddit mods have admitted that they've received support from the staff, which they claim it's only because they're going to get doxxed and other people, but it shows they actively hide their identity, and it also shows that they could be hiding it right now and actively trying to protect themselves, which, if you're doing that really does show, you probably are guilty of doing this. And I think the Reddit mods are in trouble here, and I think ultimately Reddit's going to have to cut them loose, because if they start protecting these guys so much, Reddit now gets drawn into this, and they might lose their Section 230 under the Communications Decency Act, those protections, because if they're actively allowing it, they might be considered somebody facilitating this copyright infringement and a participant in it. And I don't think Reddit wants to deal with that, so I think eventually they're going to cut these people loose. But for right now, I think they're entering this lawsuit was a bad idea, because look what they did. They gave Ethan and them tons of ammunition. Blackadder says, does the help from the mods make Reddit liable for contributory infringement? Possibly, depending on how much Reddit was condoning and what they know. But part of the getting the identity of the Reddit mods is serving them, giving them discovery demands, requesting production of documents, and finding out, were they communicating with Reddit staff about this? Maybe Reddit is liable. For right now, they don't appear to be, but they could easily be in this way. Are all the mods trans? Probably. They're Reddit Jannies, so it would make sense. It would make sense. Now, we went through those declarations last time. They were all redacted out. And the court went ahead and put out an order. And this wasn't a super huge thing here. I do know that the Luss guy or Luce or whatever his name is, he talks about this stuff and he said like, well, I think the judge is really mad at these people. The judge isn't mad. The judge isn't mad. I'm sure the judge is a little confused or perplexed about what's going on because remember, we saw 100-page documents being filed with a bunch of redactions and weird shit in them. But what you do when you're trying to file something like that is you want to file it under seal, and Reddit's attorneys never did that. And we talked about this before. When you want to file something redacted, you seek leave of court to file it under seal. Actually, in the Pixie and Destiny case, we see that. You file it under seal. You say, Your Honor, we want to file under seal. Here's what we propose to offer to the public. But we also have an unredacted version ready to go. If you allow us, we'll file the redacted stuff under seal. Now, their problem is they want to... Normally, when you file it under seal, the other party gets to see it as well. Their issue is they ultimately want an in-camera... They wanted to just basically file it and hope that was good enough. But no, the judge needs to see everything. So the judge is saying, well, I want an in-camera review of all this. The judge was mad and being righteous anger against the Redditors. Well, that's not why he's mad. It's not. This is the issue here, and the court kind of brought this up, saying, like, look, if you want in-camera review, here's how this works. And this came out on the 15th, so it's a couple days old. We just, guys didn't get to it. We had other things to worry about going on. You know, all the Trump stuff, other things to get to. Did not, work our way through it. So what happens here? Well, this is where the court has ordered the movements, and that's the Reddit mods, to provide the court with portions of the excluded declarations, meaning everything you're trying to claim that you don't think Ethan should see, and, you're worried about, I want those. And it's submitted for an in-camera review no later than October 28th. And what does in-camera mean, guys? Remember, in-camera means the judge reviews them themselves. I know the loose guy, if I remember listening to his thing right, he's mentioned like, oh, well, you have to be there. No, you don't. The documents get submitted. And the court reviews them privately. And then the court comes back with a ruling later on. I've been in cases before where we're in the middle of trial and there's an in-camera review of something. The court comes out and says, okay, I looked at it. Here's what we're doing. It all depends what you're looking at here, but you don't have to sit there. I mean, for example, like in a children's case, a custody case, if the court wants to in camera, have an interview with the children, like nobody else gets to be in there except the kid and then their guardian ad litem, or if they have their own attorney, their attorney. So this idea that anybody has to sit there, no, nobody has to sit there, but they must send the documents electronically to the judge and through his to their clerks. So that got ordered on the 15th. They have a couple days to make it happen. So once again, I understand people are like, oh my god, the judge is mad. It's like, no, people fuck up all the time. Now, did their attorney fuck up on this, or did he just send it all out and not follow up or figure out what needs to be done? Suddenly somebody who didn't follow the local rules and figure out what you have to do. And remember, guys, following the local rules will make or break you in a court case. So. Yes, and use the Navajo, Luke. Yes, in camera is the judge's chambers. Yes, because that's where the judge will do it. He'll sit in his office. He'll read it, or he'll probably have his clerk read it because he's not, I'm sorry, Sally Kim. She's not going to read this. One of her clerks is going to read it. And then she's going to tell them, give me a summary of what happened here. Bats Player is saying, because, is he a bass player or a bass player? I don't know. Maybe he plays bass and he takes fish and maybe he plays them like Troy McClure. Bass player saying, does one of the mods work for Reddit? One of the mods has claimed that Roman P person has claimed there are a bunch of the accounts and they claim that they work for Reddit. Well, as I was explaining on the farms, this idea that Reddit was providing services and helpful things to the Reddit mods is kind of reinforces this argument of, oh, I work for them. Now, he could say I was joking, but why would you fucking joke about that? I mean, all you do is implicate everybody and make, like, you're just thrashing around in quicksand and pulling everybody down. So, yeah, I think this is actually bad. I think it's bad, and I bet one of them does work for Reddit. I bet Reddit does have a couple of its admins run around pretending to be mods or not telling people like that. Yes. Yes, power leveling on Reddit? No way. I agree. Yeah, the shock. Who would think that? Do you really think somebody would do that on Reddit? Of course they would. They're fucking idiots. They are fucking idiots. So is a special master an option in a civil case? Yes, it is. 100% it's an option. That's not an issue here. Yet maybe that might become a problem or something to arise later. Parties can ask for a special master. A lot of times, if you're the one asking for it and the other side doesn't want it, you might initially have to pay for the special master yourself. And that's a very, very expensive process because you're bringing in some retired judge, usually, to come in and sift through all your bullshit. It's not a cheap thing to have. It's not a cheap thing to have. So you don't, I mean, as much as you want to say, like, oh, I think you want to, like, Matt LaRossi or Fudbusters, they had that issue. Like, Cody's team was trying to do this. They want, oh, we want a special master. And it's like, do you really want one? No, they're trying to destroy the case by making it too expensive. And so, Hobby is, or Hobie, it's Hobby. Hobby Cliff is saying, what's a special master? So, special master is like a special mediator, more or less. And they come in and they are generally somebody who is well known to the courts. A lot of times they're retired judges or very, lawyers of higher regard. And they get brought in and they're there to handle discovery disputes. And that's where normally you have the issues in discovery. Looking at documents, figuring out things that are privileged, not privileged, how you may address those things in a court case. So the special master is there to resolve the problems they may have. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but you can have problems that come up. There might be, there's also times like you use a special master for a lot of things in a court case, but generally there's discovery issues. And it's things that the judge can't address them or doesn't have time to address them or won't get to them in time. That's where a special master would get involved. So I hope that kind of answers your question. So, for example, if you get a special master, the court selects them. There might be times where you can agree as parties to a special master, but the court may pick a special master. Yes, Judge Bates is the most famous of the special masters. God. But for example, if there's an attorney and like the police want to go through, and like the Trump case is actually a great example of this. When the FBI started going through all the shit at Mar-a-Lago, the FBI claimed they had a taint team that was like independent agents who was reviewing documents to figure out what's privileged and not privileged. Instead, what Trump wanted was a special master, a person who could come in who's independent of everybody, would sit through all the documents and go, here you go, FBI. Here you go, Mr. Trump. And that's what they were hoping for. So I hope that answers it. Yes, massa. Yes, yes. They are a trusted outside unconnected third party. Yes, they are an impartial people. Who signs in Sharpie? That's an electronic signature, Chinny. That's why you're seeing it. That's why you're seeing it there. That's an electronic signature. So now, why are we now from here though? Is taint inspector an actual job? Like, I bet if you work in the porn industry, yes, it is a job. Somebody's gonna check out the undercarriage once in a while. But yes, if there are taint teams, especially in law enforcement proceedings, where they will have independent people come in to try to filter through and avoid giving the investigators privileged material. All right. Oh my God. Yes, Trump also signs in Sharpie. Yes, he does. So there's a bunch of stuff that's been filed here. There's a bunch that's been put together here. And ultimately, we are going to just kind of touch on some of this here. We're not going to read through all the documents because there's a lot here tonight. But there are parts we can get to that I think will help us figure out the arguments being made. And I think Ethan's attorney makes some very good arguments here. Once again, Ethan's attorney, is his, hatchet man, handles all kinds of stuff for him, does a good job. And this is no different. This is no different. Now, remember, Ethan's copyright case is in the Central District of California, which is where LA is. The stuff for Reddit is in the Northern District because that's where all these, all the tech companies are in the Northern District, California, up at Silicon Valley. Which, once again, apparently, we really do need somebody like Max Zorin to come through and flood the motherfucking valley and wash all those people out to sea. That would be like the best thing in the world. Sorry if you happen to live there. Sorry if you happen to live there. Yes. Yes, Lex Luthor has the most Jewist and evilest Jew attorney ever. So this is their opposition to the motion to quash. And I do like their introduction, and we're going to get to their introduction here. But they bring up a bunch of stuff here. They point out that Denim's engaged in direct infringement. The mods fail to demonstrate fair use. They fail to show they made a fair use. And they fail to show Denim's made a fair use. And that they knew of the infringement and they induced it. Is ultimately what they're going for here. These are the basic points that Ian's trying to bring up. But I do like the introduction here. We're going to skip the table of authorities. A lot of these cases you guys have seen us talk about before, or you've seen cited before. These are all pretty important. They're all pretty important. So the introduction, though, no one likes a cry bully. Remember, the leftist cries out as he cries out in pain as he strikes you. And they point out piracy as criticism is not a thing. This case is about piracy, not about stifling criticism. To the contrary, it's about the lack of sufficient criticism to justify promoting a watch party showing copyrighted works in their entirety at the exact moment they were released for the public for the purpose of commercial gain. So they point out here that, once again, they point out that Ethan is the TEI Entertainment Incorporated, is the copyright owner of one, the H3 show, number 104, Countdown to Doomsday. That's one of the other things that got infringed upon, but the big one here is the content nuke for Hasan Piker. If only Hasan shocking the fuck out of his dog had happened earlier, Ethan could have included it. It would have been great. Yes, but as Tectone might say, did the defendant make a showing of horror? Yes. So they point out here, the defendant, Alexandra Marwa Saber, person known as Denims. Once again, why do you name yourself after jeans? I don't know. It's just retarded. My name is Denims. I'm named after I thought a big pile of jeans at the Goodwill, and I'm like, Denims. I like that name. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like when you come up with the name Denims. Hosted an online watch party of the nuke. The watch party broadcast the countdown episode concurrently with its live broadcast in nearly its entirety, and the nuke immediately after its public release in its entirety. Her statements and lack of critical commentary demonstrate that Denim's objective was to commercialize a watch party and have it serve as a substitute for the works. And we talked about this. She said so. You guys can sit here and watch it in an ethical way. My name is Denims. We watch it ethically. Yes, they watched it ethically. What retarded crap are my parents looking at when they named you? Nothing. Oh. They say the Snark mods are contributory liable for the infringement. They had actual knowledge Denims was broadcasting the works without permission from Ethan. They say it's evidenced by 3 pinned community posts the day before and during the infringement to promote the party. And they say further, by not watching the watch party prior to promoting it, the Snark mods cannot have formed any opinion on whether she made a fair use of the works. And this is where they catch them. Rather, they all knew Denims was showing the works without authorization, and despite this, they still promoted her watch party. And remember, they said, well, we didn't know what was there. Well, then why did you promote it? Unless you knew. So, Ethan subpoenaed Reddit and Discord for the personal identifying information about the mods. This is their only option to identify the Snark mods. Remember, this H3 Snark is the subreddit. Accountable for contributing to Denims' infringement. Obtaining the mods' information is essential. So what are they doing here? Well, Ethan and Hila, his wife, they put together their own declarations here, but I'm not worried about that one as much. It's actually very important to read what his attorney wrote there. So, and the Snark mods call these falsehoods criticism. When the Klines respond to this criticism, the Snark mods claims the Klines are engaging in harassment, abuse, and threats. Not only does this fail to demonstrate the Klines are averse to seek and silence criticism, it shows the Klines are willing to directly confront it, and they say rather the opposite is true. It is you! It's you, the Snark mods, who reveal they're unable to handle the Klines responding to and exposing their criticism as falsehoods and misrepresentations. Imagine that, a bunch of hypocritical fucking Redditors. No way. Can you believe it, chat? I can't believe it. A bunch of tranny communist Redditors. Oh no, they're just salt of the earth people. God's creatures, only God's children. Only God's children. Nothing but the best. Guys, it's snotty sniffle season. I can be like Phil and go, okay. So they point out that the Klines have gone to great lengths to accommodate the concerns. They inform the Snark mods that they will not publicly disclose their personal information, not publicly address or refer to the Snark mods in their individual capacities. Here's the problem, though. Eventually, these things are going to lead, probably at some point, to depositions, and people are going to get served with subpoenas and notices. So eventually, their information will come out. We'll learn of who these people are, just not right away. They would instruct their audience not to contact, harass, or harm the mods, and narrow the scope of the subpoenas. And they say the omission of these concessions is intentional, and that's important. Yes, if Ethan and Hila already made this offer, that's really big on their part. Like, look, here's what we'll do. We're not going to talk about everybody. We're just going to leave it alone. But they didn't do it right. I mean, like, they offered to do this, and the Snark mods are just acting like assholes. I mean, Ethan and Hila did this. Good on them. That helps them out a lot. This helps them out a lot. And this is one of the things I think is going to go a long way towards helping them. They've already tried to meet and confer and say, look, we'll address the concerns you have. We agree to a protective order. We can't disclose any of this information. And the thing is, once those people... And ultimately, I think those people... Remember, this is for Ethan. This is all about Ethan gaining intelligence and information. He wants to shake these people down for information. What do you know? Who sent me those skulls? Who called CPS? Ethan is on a life ruination arc right now. And he's like a cruise missile. And he's searching out that person who fucked him. And he's just going to go boom! Right on top of him. So these mods are a means to that end. This is all about Ethan acquiring and accruing information and intelligence for him then to go after other people. I mean, he's kind of doing this like the cops and a prosecutor would. He's taking them down from the bottom up, and he's hoping he'll get people to snitch all the way to the top. Whatever that top is, he wants to go after everybody. And they point out, however, these mods are not the victims, they are the victimizers. It is you who's the bad man. Yes, it's Scorched Earth, yep. Ethan leaves his own space laser, yeah. It's going to be like Command and Conquer. Ion cannon charged. Airstrike approved. Now they go on to talk about the statement of facts. We're not worried about this part. We've done this a million fucking times. We're not rereading this. They point out the Klines are high-profile Jewish Israeli Americans. Like, just you gotta notice it, chat. You gotta notice it. Gotta notice it. Hila was born in Israel while Ethan emigrated to Israel for a period of time, became a citizen, which is easy to do if you are of the tribe. They also talk about the issues with Hasan Piker on October 7th. Now Dogtober 7th. They go on to talk about the Snark. Guys, we've already been through all this stuff. This just goes on and on and on. We've been through all of this. We've been through all this stuff. And yes, Dedham said this is a place to watch the nuke without supporting Ethan Kline. So, like I said, we've already been through this. So we don't need to go back through it. You have to notice they were targeted because they're Jewish. I understand, but you have to notice everything, Bella. You have to notice everything. So they go through this and they talk about the standard to disclose a DOE defendant, meaning an unnamed defendant's identity via subpoena, when you're dealing with speech issues and a copyright infringement case. Yes, which October 7th? I agree. Which October 7th? The 2023 October 7th. The OG October 7th. Now they point out there's a couple different cases. There's a test they can use. The party seeking disclosure must demonstrate a prima facie case underlying the copyright claim, and then the court balances the need for discovery against the First Amendment. That's one of the ways to do it. They point out, as this court is well aware, another court has rejected the balance of the equities because it's not well suited for copyright. And they point out that's another Northern California case. And this is also another Northern California case. So he's showing Judge, look, this isn't really clear. It's all up in the air. What do we do here? And they say, rather, First Amendment considerations are adequately addressed examining fair use in the context of whether there was a prima facie case of copyright infringement. Oh, hold on one second, chat. She's just wrangling all the dogs. Oh, Bonbon wants to play, apparently, and Clyde's like, I am tired. He's like, I don't wish to play. I wish I could show you guys footage of Bonbon and Clyde where it's just like, she just like chews on his ear and it keeps jumping all over him. And he's just like, he looks at you like, please help. Yes, January 6th is worse than October 7th. It's when Israeli democracy was attacked. Yes, oy vey. Oy vey. It is the worst. It is the worst. Israel almost lost its foothold in America that day. Yes. Lua says, fire the missiles! Yes. Take a nap and then fire the missiles. Is Hasan going to get slipped a Semtex collar remote? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, Jefferson. I don't know. Now, they point out the prima facie case of contributed copyright infringement. Remember, this is not a common theory that's out there. This is kind of more of a fringe theory. As we've seen in the Kiwi Farms case with Russell Greer. Contributory copyright infringement is kind of weird to bring. And depending on how the Supreme Court rules, that could lead to the point of you're not even entitled to statutory damages in a copyright infringement, a contributory infringement case. So that's how contributory copyright infringement's very much on the edge of copyright law at this point. Oh, hold on here. What did somebody? Yes, Hila retweeting Sven Stoffels was wild. What a timeline. Yes, yes. Time to show the Sven Stoffels cartoon of Hila. Yeah, I don't know. I think I get in trouble for that one. I think YouTube would take me out for that. But they point out there are contributory copyright infringement elements, direct infringement by a third party, the defendant knew or had reason to know of the infringing activity, and they induce, cause, or materially contributed to the conduct. Now, what are we seeing here? Amazon is being accused of it through its content services, and this is out of the Central District of California. Just happened. Just happened. So, guys, yeah, this is stuff that's kind of on the ragged edge of copyright law, and it's not super well developed. It's not super well developed. But you point out Denim's engaged in direct infringement. 100% she did. Remember, Denim's, Frogan, Casey Tron. It's like Steiner, Kravchenko, and Dragovich all must die. So yes, Casey Tron, Denim's, Frogan, they're all dead. Yes, they all contribute. They all infringed directly. There's no question about it. All three of these hoes are going to suffer. Not suffer, suffer. They're going to suffer. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. Denim's is like the one who, out of all of them, fucked up the least, but she still jumped way over the line. Oh, hi, Bon Bon. Hello. You want to come up here? People would like to see you. Come here. And she's like, no. I turn around and she's like, I'm just going to go away. Come here. I'll have to get her another night, chat. Don't worry, we've got her for a couple of days. You'll get your bonbon, Phil. You'll get your fill of bonbon. So, and they talk about, Ian registered the copyright ahead of time. He didn't register at the U.S. Copyright Office. And they show, and this is the great thing, the mods failed to demonstrate fair use. And they say the burden of proving fair use is always on the putative infringer, meaning if you're the one infringing, the burden's on you to show you had fair use. And they point out here that they're saying this applies with equal force in the context of subpoenas seeking to identify anonymous individuals for copyright infringement. Now remember, this is probably more the context of somebody posting and hosting things, not necessarily contributory copyright infringement, but direct. That's where most of the law is at this point. And they talk about fair use. If you guys haven't been through this before, it's part of the Copyright Act. It is, these are 4 non-exclusive factors courts consider. But these are 4 things you need to look at. Even if you meet all these, you're not guaranteed. But the idea is if you meet all of these, and they can answer in your favor, you're probably going to be okay. The purpose and character of the use, whether it's a commercial nature or it's for nonprofit. Even if it's commercial, you're not automatically fucked. But also, even if it's nonprofit and not educational, you still might be in trouble. You still might be liable. The nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. Remember, Ethan Kline and Hila, they already dealt with this case. If you guys look down below in all of my disclaimers, you see Kline v. Hosoda. You see like a couple of those cases where Ethan Kline and Hila, they have set a lot of copyright standards out there. There's also Sargon versus Akilah Hughes. I mean, those 3 cases alone are critical in fair use analysis. They say the effect of the use upon a potential market or or value of the copyrighted work. There are all kinds of things here, these 4 things you have to look at. And they say the mods failed to show they made a fair use argument here. And they say they incorrectly argue they made a fair use. And I agree, they incorrectly did that. By facilitating criticism and commentary. And the Ninth Circuit has rejected the argument of end-user utilization of the product is largely irrelevant to fair use. Yes. How does the people you show it to utilize it? It doesn't count. What did you do? And I think that's a fair way to look at it. You produce this thing. Okay, is it, this work, is it infringing? Yes. Well, think about it. If nobody ever interacted with it, it's going to always infringe then, right? So the idea is you have to hope people infringe for you? No, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Doesn't make any sense at all. And they say this has been applied in equal force to motion seeking to quash or unmask anonymous infringers. And they say posting a work and implicitly inviting comment is the same as simply copying the work. And that's true. And, just kind of answer the way I explained it. Any work made public will always inspire opinion. But the reader's implicit opinion is not the same as comment or criticism. That's true. Formed and made by the blogger who copies protected work. So they point out that these are in accord with the mandate that fair use must examine the specified use of the copyrighted work at issue. And this is the case. This is one of the big ones, chat, that came out recently. The Andy Warhol Foundation versus Goldsmith. It's the Warhol case, 2023 from the Supreme Court. It's a very important one. It tells you that fair use must examine the use of the copyrighted work. And it says the mods didn't provide any commentary on any of this stuff. They say whether third parties commented is irrelevant because the issue here is the mods use, not the third parties. And I agree. It's what did these guys do? It's what did they do, not what everybody else did. It's kind of like those arguments your parents give you. I don't care what everybody else in the neighborhood did. What did you do that got you in trouble? And they failed to show that denims made fair use. I agree. There's nothing here that shows fair use. And, the first factor in fair use relates to the problem of substitution, whether you supersede or supplant the original work. Do you add something new with a further purpose or different character? The mere fact that you have some purpose or add something new does not render the use fair. And as we said, guys, these four factors here, they're not exhaustive, they're not exclusive, and even if you can answer all these questions in favor of you, that's not always a guarantee you're going to be fine. Yes, you would like to think if you can meet all four of these things in a way that helps you, you're fine and you're okay, but there's never any guarantee to that. There's never a guarantee. And they say, rather, it's whether the allegedly infringing use has a further purpose or different character is a matter of degree. It's all relative, guys. It's all subjective. And the degree of the difference must be weighed against other considerations, like commercialism. And they say when the purpose of the works overlap, or the secondary use does not serve an entirely different function, the first fair use factor does not favor fair use. And that's where, once again, guys, this stuff can make or break you. You have to be very careful. You really have to be thinking about what you're doing. They say the first factor also relates to justification for the use, both in the broad and narrow sense. And they say in the broad sense, a use is justified if it has a distinct purpose that furthers the goal of copyright without diminishing the incentive to create. They say the narrower issue is it reasonably necessary to achieve the user's new purpose? And they talk about the wide dissemination of a secondary work would otherwise run the risk of substitution for the original. And that's always a threat. If you risk substituting the original, that's a big problem because that's what copyright is meant to protect. Your ability to make money off of your original works. And when it comes to criticism, each quoted passage must serve a different purpose. And they say a court must consider the use within the whole to determine whether the copying is fair. And they say the first factor does not favor fair use if you copy more than is necessary to facilitate a comment or criticism. I think we already agree and we already know that. If you copy a lot more than necessary, yeah, you're not doing it the right way. Anything you reproduce must be in the service of the commentary on that work. It's not enough for part of the work to have a transformative purpose. And when clips are played without much interruption or used in excess of the purpose, it is not consistently transformative. And they point out other cases here. Wholesale copying with sprinkled commentary fails to transform a work. It's kind of like what Hasan does. You guys have seen these videos where Hasan will sit there and just watch the whole thing and go, "Oh, wow, that's crazy, man," at the end. That's not commentary. They say further, when the commentary has no critical bearing on the substance or style of the original composition, the claim to fairness or borrowing another's work diminishes accordingly if it doesn't vanish. And other factors like the extent of the commerciality loom longer. Yeah, so you can't just go, "Oh, wow, that's crazy." You have to have it's got to be something. It's got to be something. And they point out here that the undisputed commercial character, though not dispositive, tends to weigh against a finding of fair use. Remember, when you're saying, "I want you guys to watch it here ethically, and you can support us instead," well, now you're getting into the commercialism. This factor does not favor any user who wants to reach different buyers in different markets consuming different products. And remember, guys, they go back to Ethan and Hila. They talk about this. Hasan, I forget how you fucking pronounce the guy's name. But that's Ethan and Hila's case, guys. That's Ethan and Hila's case. They are, like, this is them. And it's they get to rely on the case law they set for themselves. Clippy's Revenge says, Sargon used Akila's own words to discredit herself. Yeah, but Sargon also reordered, like, he took the whole video and changed it all around. He shifted a bunch of things around and he clipped it out and put it in different orders to portray a different message. So what Carl did was actually really good. Yeah, nobody remembers the girl who do live reacts to full anime episodes and making $1,000 off of it. She survived a good while. There's people who do that all over Twitch, and like there are people like who did. Yeah, she would just sit there and watch full anime and go, "Wow," and made all kinds of money. All kinds of money. Yes, they had completely different audiences. Yep, and they say, as the court noted in this case, the reaction videos vary widely in terms of purpose, structure, and the extent in which they rely on potentially copyrighted material. And they say reaction videos that intersperse short segments of another's work with criticism and commentary are considered fair use. A reaction video is more akin to a group viewing session. It's not considered fair use, providing analysis of all of the factors. And the purpose of Denham's party was to provide a substitute for the works and exploit them. And yeah, so and they go through what Denham's did here. She did the whole countdown episode concurrently with Ethan's original broadcast. And she said previously, if someone watches content on someone else's stream, there's a very low likelihood they're going to go watch it separately and give you, the viewer, the like. True. If you watch it somewhere else, why are you going to go watch it again? You're not. Jefferson Post says, Nick wanted to do watch parties while Twitch was allowed, Amazon Prime playing on stream. That's different. They're allowed to do that. Like, if you set it up and the way it was all worked out, you were allowed to do that. That wasn't illegal. That was a thing that they had worked out. So that one's okay. That's a very different situation there. And they say the commercial purpose of Denham's watch party was immediately evident. She commercially exploited the countdown episode. She got subs, donos, and advertising revenue. And further, she used the countdown episode to promote the watch party of the nuke by placing a chyron at the top of her screen stating that the contact nuke drops at 1:30 Pacific. She added a countdown timer for when the nuke would be released, and encouraging people to view her watch party instead of the nuke by stating, if you want to watch it, Come enjoy the watch party somewhere else. And yet, no, Maddie, sorry, no, nobody here can get the death penalty, sadly. Sadly. Yes, if everybody were to be put in an airplane and crash on the side of a mountain, that would be the best for the world, but that's not going to happen. And they say and they point out, though, that any criticism of the episode was an afterthought. Denham's watched long sections of the episode with no interruption for several minutes at a time. And then she even let it play, and this is one of the things. She pulled Hasan. She was off camera. When she returned, she was silent. And when she did speak, she provided only 4 minutes and 43 seconds of brief and superficial commentary. Another time, she provided 43 seconds of commentary that meanders in unrelated topics. And then a third time, 2 minutes of unrelated or unintelligible comments. Well, Denham's is pretty retarded, so I'm assuming most of them are unintelligible. During the runtime of the watch party, she let the countdown episode play interrupted for nearly 88% chat. Based number, though. I'm just saying that's a base number. Then it talks about Zanuck. She did the watch party 1 minute after the release. It showed the nuke in the entirety. She received approximately 45,000 views. We already talked about that. On 174 separate occasions, she received subscriptions, donos, and super chats and advertising revenue. She made several statements that emphasized her purpose was to do this. She said, Ethan Kline is on content in watch party. This is not a drill. And she also did this. She said, if you want to watch it, come here and enjoy it. She said, we're staying live so we don't give more views to the nuke. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. And she said, well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like the content here. She said, I did not want to watch that by myself. I don't want to give the video another view, which is why they watched it with me. She plays a nuke uninterrupted for 30 seconds or more, and frequently a minute or longer, accounting for 70% of the show. And she admits she wasn't providing proper commentary because she didn't want to pause. When she does speak, she makes short comments with no critical bearing, incoherent and unclear utterances. She goes, nah, probably. Speaking with her chat about unrelated topics, discussing minimal related topics, providing brief, superficial comments with no elaboration, and frequently expressing confusion because she's a retard by a particular excerpt due to not pre-screening the nuke. That's because she's just retarded. She's retarded. Oh, you guys are all getting the math right here on that. Remember, simplify your fractions. It's 7/44, not 1488. They see in the rare instance where she provides lengthier commentary, her comments had no bearing. She discussed China's credit score system, which was never in the nuke. After the discussion of Hasan's apologia for the Chinese genocide of the Uyghurs, who are the Muslims out in Western China, which, if you guys didn't realize that, a lot of Western China is full of Muslims. Remember, China borders Afghanistan. Denham's attacks the United States is worse than China because of issues with disability benefits and treatment of transgender individuals. Yeah, we're totally worse than the fucking Chinese government. We're totally fucking worse. Once again, these people are retards. Which has nothing to do with the nuke. And after the critique of Morgan, Majade, also known as Frogan, Denham's goes on a diatribe on why Frogan is more American than her. No, they're both cock-sucking whores. Fuck them both. Fuck them both. Fuck them both. Midnight in Exile says 7/44 was a mistake. You have to simplify your fractions. I don't make the rules. Simplify your fractions. That's how you have to do it. This is to be certain. There are moments when she makes a highly transformative use of the nuke. They say it infrequently and consistently. It says, where the nuke seeks to expose how Hasan radicalizes individuals, Denim occasionally uses the nuke to radicalize individuals to hate Jews in Israel. Okay, well, I mean, the inconsistent and frequent nature of this transformation, however, fails to justify showing the nuke in its entirety. They say the second factor weighs against fair use. Well, if you lose the first one, you're really kind of toast. They say the second fair use factor typically has not been terribly significant in fair use tests, and that's true. They say it examines if the original work is creative and whether it is unpublished. Even when documents are a real event, the work can still be creative because it's the product of many technical and artistic decisions. And they say whether a work is published is asking whether the author has exhausted the right of control, the first public appearance. And they say the fact that work is published does not weigh in favor of fair use. That's correct. That's correct. And then they say the works were published does not weigh in favor because she did it all concurrently as it all happened live. So it's not fair. It's not fair use. The third factor, the quantitative amount and qualitative value of the original work used, well, it circles back to the first factor because of the extent of permissible copying varies with the purpose of the character of the use. Well, guess what? Denims didn't do it the right way. And they say if you copy an entire work, it's probably not going to be fair use. Say, however, if the user only copies as much as necessary, this factor will weigh. And they say, once again, the case for Ethan and Hila, Hasan is sightful. I forget how you fucking pronounce the guy's name. But the reaction video used 3 minutes and 15 seconds of the 5-minute, 24-second long original video. About 60% of it. The reaction video was almost 15 minutes long. And yes, it had a bunch of short segments, and it had long segments of commentary. And they say that the court found the third factors are neutral because while you copy a great deal, they were plainly necessary for the critique. So yes, could you copy an entire work? Yes, but you're going to have to do like a Mahler-style EFAP. You know, if you take an entire hour-long video and you break it down over 5-6 hours and you're really just tearing into it, you're doing like a Mahler EFAP or Sitch and Adams style. Yeah, you could probably get away with that. You could probably get away with that. You could probably get away with that. Now, real quick here, where is... some guy with cancer, how you doing, man? Who has to pay the heavy machinery to get the mods or the court dates? That's 6 figures alone. I don't know who's responsible for that. I don't know who's responsible for that. And then Malcolm Combs for $2 is 1.75... 1 3/4 11ths. I don't know how that would work. 1.75 11ths. Very funny. Very funny, chat. I keep thinking it's pronounced Haagen-Dazs. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if you take a Star Wars movie and you turn it into like a 100-hour spurg out, yes, you're safe. A lot of people do that, by the way. But Denim streamed the nuke in its entirety, and she failed to provide criticism, and it was clearly unnecessary and excessive, so it doesn't work. The fourth factor is weighing against her. They say that this factor is the single most important one of fair use. And this goes back to the Supreme Court case, Harper and Roe. They say, well, the first factor considers to what extent it is there. The fourth focuses on the actual or potential market. They say the first and fourth factors are closely related. As the more copying is done, the more likely it is the copy will serve as a satisfactory substitute. And they also point out that other courts, including the Second Circuit, other places have said the third and fourth factors are interlinked. Interlinked, chat, interlinked. And the greater amount of substantiality there, it might serve as an effective competing substitute. And they say that, the extent of the market harm caused by the actions of the infringer and whether the unrestricted and widespread conduct of this by the defendant would engage in a substantially adverse impact on the potential market for the original and the market for derivative works. And it says even if there's little direct evidence of harm, you only need to show that should it become widespread, it would adversely affect the potential market. So what happens here? Well, the fourth fair use factor points against fair use when a copyist makes copies available that displays demand for copies the owner already makes available or readily could. Meaning, even if you didn't already, I could readily do it. Well, there you go. And remember, Denham said if you want to watch it, come enjoy the party somewhere else. We don't want to give more views to the nuke. We're not giving any views to that video. She didn't want to give the video another view. Watch it with me. Well, there you go. There you go, Denhams. And she also says if somebody else watches content, someone else stream, there's a very low likelihood you're going to watch it separately and give you the like. Very true. She did. She did say that. And she says, once you watch the video in one place, you're very unlikely to go back and watch it again. I think that's 100% correct. Now, they point out that the mods knew of this. Was there actual knowledge? Was there willful blindness? Or is there reason to know of the infringement? And they say the standard for knowledge is objective. And it says here the mods knew Denham was streaming both. The title of the first post is Denham's is Live. And they talk about her reacting. And they say, Denham's is currently streaming the countdown episode and would stream the nuke on its release. The second post was titled, the H3 Content Nuke Mega Thread. Places to watch reactions to this video. And it contained a list of creators and whether or not they were streaming the nuke. They had live now, going live soon. Live but not reacting yet, or not reacting yet. For Denham's, the second post stated Denham's live now. Denham's is currently streaming the nuke. Therefore, the mods knew Denham's was exploiting the works when they made the post. And I'm sure, once again, Chad, as we mentioned, there's probably communications going back and forth, maybe indirectly, that, hey, here's what our game plan is. Here's what our game plan is. So, let's see here. What if the mods get smoked? Well, they're going to cry. They're going to cry. They're going to cry. So they say the mods don't testify that Denham's had a license to use the works. And indeed, proving the existence of a license was their burden as well. And guys, a license just means permission. Now, you may be formal that you pay. Like DSP wants a detractor license where you have to pay him for permission. It's like getting a stamp of approval that you're operating under his authority to detract and make content. Or it's an implied license at times. Like you could say, go ahead, watch it, fucking comment on it. There may be an implied license at times. They say, to the contrary, the existence of an implied license is an affirmative defense. And ultimately, it's on the party seeking to avoid the liability. And that's true. It's on them to show it. They walked really right into this one, didn't they? Yes, they did. Ethan intentionally set this up. He wanted this to happen. This is kind of like one of those shows where like he's already prepared for all the outcomes. Maybe he hasn't prepared for all of them, but he was like 8-9 steps ahead of these guys, and he's still ahead of them. And they say, obviously, this shows that they were providing links to watch the nuke without supporting Ethan, and that Ethan wouldn't receive any benefit because the use was unauthorized, and they were promoting creators who supported the Snark by engaging directly with the Snark mods. Now, that is interesting when they say, well, we're engaging directly. How? What does engaging directly mean? Once again, Ethan could build all this up here. Now, they argue Denham's would be reacting to the nuke in the countdown. It says engaging in commentary and criticism. Well, not all reaction videos are fair use. They argue they didn't know Denham's infringement because they didn't view the stream while it was live. And this is a fatal admission. To begin, this argument goes to their purported subjective belief, which is irrelevant because it's an objective inquiry. Regardless, you cannot form any opinion about something if you haven't watched it yet. And I agree. That's very true. Like, well, hey, is it... Well, I haven't seen it yet. So how do you know what the fuck she's doing? Oh, boy. You know, once again, this is why the mods probably should have shut up. And they probably should have had Reddit fight the battle. That probably would have been better for them in the long term. Because now they're just kind of speed running the judge fucking them in the ass. They probably should have done this on their own, yes. H3 Snark mods, interlinked. You know, rather they pay lip service to the consideration of fair use by saying they formed a good faith belief. You know, they promoted the unauthorized works without determining whether they made fair use. This is willful blindness. Yeah. So it proves they subjectively believed infringement was occurring, and they took deliberate actions to avoid learning about it. Therefore, they met their burden to demonstrate they had knowledge of the infringing works. Oh, buddy. So there you go. They're in trouble. Now they talk about the inducement here. How do you induce somebody to infringe? Well, advertising the infringement use, the active steps taken, and then actively knowing and aiding and abetting. You know, they did all of it. The links took viewers directly to her homepage, where she could do the watch party. She even admitted the Snark mods were responsible for signal boosting her watch party. Further, they aimed to satisfy a known source of demand for the infringement. Yeah, they did. The intent to achieve an unlawful objective. Yeah, this is and guys, this is MGM Studios versus Grokster. And this is from 2005. This is back in like the early times. In 2005, guys, that's like Napster timeline. Snarf says I keep hearing my name. Yes, J-Rock is correct. As Bane once said, now is the time for fear. Like, that comes later. Well, now is the time. Now is the time for fear. Is the casino on tonight? They are. Yeah, they should be. Believe they're on tonight. So they just go on for this, and they say, hey, everyone, we've seen a lot of comments about wanting to watch a nuke without showing support. Yeah, so the mods themselves stated that. They would provide links to individuals who supported the Snark by engaging with the mods. And they said the people who had streamed the works without seeking permission, they provided links so people could watch. They even stated they encourage folks to watch on YouTube since it doesn't play ads or contribute to Ethan's view counts. Yes, it's great intelligence. Great intelligence by these mods. Congratulations, Redditors, your Redditeer thoughts. You've done this to yourself. So, they say by offering alternatives for the works before anyone can finish watching them independently, the mods intended users to view Denham's watch party in lieu of the works. Yeah. They were so obsessed. And this is the problem, whether it's Trump derangement syndrome, whatever derangement syndrome you have, the willingness to suck any dick put in front of you to spite the bad man, whoever that is in your life. They hated Ethan Kline so much, they sucked the first cock that came in front of them. And now look where they are. They didn't even slow down to give it an hour or two. They gave it a minute, and they immediately jumped on it. And Ethan Kline played upon their hubris. Very, very much true, like the finest Greek tragedy. Actually, a comedy too. He played right about it. Yes. But what about the child porn? Well, they have a. I bet the tranny mods have a lot of that. So they say the balancing test favor disclosure. I agree at this point. They probably do. And they go through here and they talk about there's no alternatives. No alternatives exist to identify these people. They've employed private investigators and were even able to find an informant within the Snark mods. One of y'all snitched! Oh no! Oh no, Snark mods! One of you fellow Redditors became a Laheckin turncoat. Oh no! But apparently it didn't work. But nobody can find their identities or locations. They say there's no alternative to obtain personal identifying information. They also point out it's core to our claim. It's directly relevant and materially relevant. I agree 100% it is. But that's the worst part. One of y'all was a snitch. Which I hope this turns into a fucking mole hunt on the Redditor side. That would just be, mwah, these guys start hunting each other down. Janny on Janny violence. All you could say is, yes! More Redditors hunting each other down. It would be great. So they say a protective order is unwarranted. There's a normal presumption you must use your fucking real name. And they say that, the severity of the threat and harm is the balancing factor of the reasonableness and the anonymous party's fears, the vulnerability, the prejudice to the opposing parties and the public interest. And the Snark mods have failed to identify any specific threat. Rather, the fears they articulate are based on falsehoods, rank speculation, and the clients attempting to defend themselves. And I say further, as was discussed, the clients have made multiple attempts to ameliorate the mod's concerns. But the Snark mods have rejected those options. Remember, we went through that, where Ethan and Hila were like, look, we'll shut up. We won't even fucking talk about him. Hey, Bonbon. Where you at? Come here. Come here, Bonbon. Like, every time I move, she's like, ah! She's like the fat man. It's like, you fucking forget. We spent 2 weeks together! So they say that this severely hampers Ethan's ability to conduct discovery and proceed with the case. And then it says the mod's actual concern is transparent. They wish to avoid being treated with the same courtesy with which they treated the clients. Yes. They should not be allowed to enjoy anonymity based on making false statements to the court. They say that the mods themselves admit there's tremendous interest in the outcome of this motion. There is! A lot of people want to see you suffer. They want to see you mods suffer. We do want to see it. And it addresses the scourge of copyright infringement as a form of cyberbullying. They talk about Justice Brandeis says, publicity is justly commended as a remedy for social and industrial diseases. Sunlight is the best of disinfectants. It's the electric light, the most effective and efficient policeman. They should have just ended right there. But therefore, the request for protective order should be denied. I think you should have ended like with this part here. You should have just ended like that. But yeah, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. That means you're a virus, Reddit. Your Jannies, your germs. We're going to clean you up. This whole thing is like pitting a scorpion against ants. Yes, except the scorpion is just like... It's like a fucking machine gun just poking all the ants and killing them. It's like watching the IAF just JDAM buildings in Gaza. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Just skadoosh every time. The best disinfectant is when you mix ammonia and bleach together. Do not do that, chat. Do not do that. Please don't. All right, guys, so you move on to here. This is the declaration of Ethan's attorney. So, we're not going through all 150 pages of it, but this is far more important than Ethan and Hila's, I think. He gets into a lot of stuff here. Because Ethan and Hila have like a 100-page declaration of their own. But we're just going to get into this. He says, I'm an attorney at law. Yes, and he says, I am a partner at the law firm Haight Barnisum, LLP, an attorney of record for Ethan. He talks about what's going on here. He says, I apologize in advance for the length of the declaration. It's not my intent to do this, but I have to clarify the record and refute the various assertions made by the Snark mods. And that's true. They offer that 500-page fucking behemoth. He's got to respond to it. He has to respond to it. Because you can't just let that stuff go. You have to respond. 150 pages based. Yeah, no, it's not based. It's not based. Yes, 150 pages of billable work to the plaintiffs. Correct, pathetic, hermetic. But remember, when Ethan Kline wins, those attorney's fees are going to Denims, Frogan, Casey Tron, and all the Snark mods. So, yes, they'll be recouping those things. And yes, it's at least $150,000 per defendant, per count. So he does a bunch of things here. He talks about the takedowns of the Snark posts, which that's something that gone on for a long time they were dealing with. And they talk about all these posts, because for a long time, we addressed this before, there were a lot of DMCA takedown requests by Ethan Kline on the team. And we noticed that he was involved in this. He was the guy, he filled out Reddit's forums for the DMCA takedowns on behalf of Ethan. He's been Ethan's attorney for a very long time. There's all kinds of stuff here going all the way back to August 2024. We're not to that part. We're past. We're like, notice this is just a history of everything that's happened. This is everything that's happened here. So this just goes on and on and on and on and on. Now this is where they start talking about the letters. So he sent letters to some of these people, to users. One of the users called O'Brien Potatoes. And he says he explained why they failed to make fair use. People were challenging with counterclaims. And it just goes on and on and on for a while. And like he has to lay this out for the judge because he doesn't understand it. And once again, don't do orphans. Control Enter. Start a new page. But now they move on to this. He finally gets to the watch party. 20 pages in, chat. 20 pages in, he gets to the watch party. You're just like, holy shit. That was a lot of garbage to get through. And they say that the total thing was over 10 hours. Due to the size of the video file, the broadcast is submitted to the court in 2 parts. Yes. And that's a lot of gigabyte space. And it's, part 1 is on a flash drive as Exhibit J. And the other one is also Exhibit K. And they say that she described her watch party as a watch party. Yeah, not a I'm giving analysis. And he says, overview of my fair use analysis. And this is where he's like, I'm going to break it down for you. Although you're like, wait, this is all you, isn't it? Yes. But this is, you go the extra distance and you have to do all this work as an attorney. This is what you have to do. So we've already gone through this. He overviewed her countdown episode, which we've already done. Overviewed the analysis of the content nuke. And this just goes on and on and on, chat. Now they point out here, this is actually interesting. Denham's watch party was the pinnacle of her career. She received her highest number of concurrent views in her entire streaming career, more than 45,000. But remember, Twitch inflates its viewers, its view numbers. So who knows if that was really true or not. They say since the broadcasting her watch party, these individuals watched Denham's party in lieu of the nuke itself. And that's true. She admits to siphoning viewers during her watch party. And she does. She admits to it. She admits to doing this. And they say prior to her watch party, if you want to watch it, come enjoy the watch party somewhere else. We don't want to give more views of the nuke. And we just go through all this. She keeps on going. And she says, unfortunately, we're watching Ethan Kline. And she said, she talks about, please throw me a prime, a sub, content if you liked your time here. And she says, I know all of those people didn't want to give the video another view, which is why they watched it with me. Once again, she's just alluding to it. 45,000 views if I tried showing off my cleavage and screaming about Israel. Well, I mean, it kind of, like, screaming about Israel worked for Alex Jones to an extent, but no, I've not thought about showing my cleavage. Not yet. And this is where they cite her 2022 statement that she acknowledges her reactions siphon views away from original videos. And that's where we get to that comment where she makes it repeatedly. Is this repetitive from prior responses? To an extent. That's why we're kind of moving along here, guys. This is why we're moving along. And then, like, Denham's acknowledges she uses third-party filler. Content is filler. And that it siphons views away from the original. She says, I just want to be clear on my opinion, like filler. She says, like, you shouldn't do it. I know I do it as a React streamer. And I try to only do it with Vox videos or Vice videos. She says, because I'm not ripping off from one content creator and, like, a whole team and stuff. And most of those videos have, like, 5 million views. And she says, I only get 500 viewers. That's a self-felt there. But, hey, I'm in that same boat. So she says, maybe I'm coping because I'm a reactor. I want to have that content. Of course you are. You're coping! And guys, this goes on and on and on and on. You can see things here. Chud Logic gets a shout out in the middle of this. He's back. He's been back. He's been gone for a while, but now he's back. And he says, and this is interesting here, why I did not request these posts be taken down. I did not issue those takedowns, and some people have asked me, why didn't they do this? Because this right here, chat, these are for the nuke in the countdown episode. He said, we didn't do it because we did not want to expose Ethan to a claim of misrepresentation under the Copyright Act, 17 U.S.C. 512. Legally, anyone issuing a DMCA takedown must review the secondary use in its entirety before being able to form a subjective good faith belief regarding fair use. Therefore, I was unable to issue a takedown notice before fully reviewing the watch party. He says, additionally, I have an anonymous Reddit account and I do not comment or post whatsoever. Therefore, I did not message the Snark mods to take down the post because it would have been incredibly difficult to confirm my identity to them. After all, I had issued DMCA takedowns and they repeatedly believed I was a rogue fan instead of counsel for Ethan. So that is an interesting thing, and that's why you can't do it. Because he has to acknowledge, I haven't watched it all the way. So even though it's starting to happen, she could turn around and start becoming transformative. And that becomes an issue. So yes, cope! Yes, cope, just like meme copium. Edward Scott, it's a civil suit, there's always settlement. Not always, man. Not always. Cardi B is a great example. That shit went all the way to trial, and she's filed sanctions, which I'm going to try to get a copy of because I want to see what they're filed sanctions on. We're going to take a look at that. Hopefully, that should be a fun stream. But Cardi B is getting sanctions against those people who tried to sue her for the assault. Allow it to play out for the payout, yes. They talk about the Snark mods promoted other watch parties. Casey Tron's watch party. And they say, even worse than Denham's, Casey Tron was silent for the vast majority of her watch party and spent more time smoking marijuana than speaking. And they point out we're already going after her in the Western District of Missouri for her case number there. TED Entertainment Incorporated versus Casey Cavanis et al. They say Frogan's watch party. They say Frogan watched long adulterated portions. She let the nuke play while she was off screen for multiple minutes. And it was so lacking that she even began reading chats complaining about her lack of commentary, which, Might as well make the notes about your criminal fucking conspiracy while you're doing it.
Nigga, is you taking notes on a criminal fucking conspiracy? What the fuck is you thinking, man?
You know, when chat says you're fucking up, you should take that as a hint. You are fucking up. Because that's not, that's not good. That's not good, chat! Chair streams are not fair use? No. No, they're not. They tried to pull a Hasan and they can't act like Hasan. They talk about that case is pending in the Central District of California called the Frogan action. And they say that a true and correct copy of that is submitted as Exhibit 66. And here you go. Why we pursued these infringements. And it says, while many others reacted to some or all of the nuke, they were the only individuals we discovered that hosted their watch parties immediately or mere minutes after the release, when interest is at its greatest. And they made statements expressly stating they intended to siphon views away from the original. There you go. There you go. There you go. They tell you that. Would I advise her to settle at this point? Yeah, these girls have to settle. There's no way they win. The problem is, Ethan doesn't want to settle. Ethan wants people's fucking souls. There's no settling with a man who wants to burn everything down. You know, Ethan wants to set their world on fire. You know, if Ethan could take down Hasan in this, he would do it. That's his Turkish whale, his Turk roach whale that he's trying to spear. Although technically, like, do whales count as like, well, no, they're just seafood. So it's not like Ethan couldn't hunt him down as Captain Ahab. But, yeah. He wants to solve, yes, we're in Carthage mode right now. We're at the end of the Punic Wars. Dern is saying, if you refuse to settle, does that affect your ability to recoup fees? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. That's not correct. I mean, if you refuse to settle and you think you have a great case, you can't do it. Like, you know, you don't have to. You don't have to settle. I mean, there's incentive to do that. Oh my God, yes. Kia Patrick, I just had to Google this. You are right. Whales are considered shellfish. So Ethan is like, yes, he's like the unkosher Captain Ahab hunting his Turk roach whale. His Turkish whale. But yes, kashrut prohibits the consumption of whales and shellfish. Because whales are not biblically kosher aquatic animals. Only creatures from the water that have both fins and scales are considered kosher. Why are they not kosher? They're mammals. They do not chew their cud or have split hooves. Well, that too, yeah. Whales are aquatic mammals, yeah. Okay, I did not know that. Because the Jews said so. I don't know. The Israelites are like, nope. It's like, that's a shame. So there you go. Yeah, they could admit complete fault. I mean, but Ethan doesn't have to. Ethan holds all the cards. They're completely toast. There's nothing they can do. They're all fucked. The mods are really they're the sideshow. The main battle. Like they're kind of like Ethan has already encircled them and they're in a pocket on their own fighting for their lives. And they're going to get snuffed out. These guys, this is like the French SS holding out at like the fucking Reichstag. You know, that's the real show. We're not talking about some guys like, you know, trying to defend the runway on the Tiergarten. That's like the sideshow. This is the main event. You know, when the Alamein SS holding out, you know, and also the Viking SS holding out against the Russians. That's the real main event. So, yes, the main event! If you guys didn't know that was kind of like the last real battle in Berlin was the French SS holding out on the Reichstag and just making the Russians pay dearly for everything. Actually, wait, hold on here. Wait, hold on. Did I get that right? What did the French SS defend in Berlin? What did the French SS defend in Berlin? They defended the Führer bunker. There was obviously the Charlemagne division. Oh, they defended the Reich Chancellery. Let me see here. The 33rd Waffen Grenadiers. Oh, they defended the Reich Chancellery. Sorry. But yes. Sorry, chat. I apologize. I was pretty close. Like, it's all right there. It's all right there. Jefferson Post, was that alongside the kids and old men at the Panzerfaust? Yes. Yes. Well, they didn't fight alongside of them, but yes, there were kids out there smoking T-34s with Panzerfaust. Yes. Yes, the mods are the aperitif. Yes. This is more like the Polish army at the start of the war. Yeah, but, I mean, like I said, the girls are already toast. They're in a pocket. The main battle is going after everything else. It's all Reich there, yes. Das Reich! Jack Brower says the French are Germans, at least not my grandfather. No, the French were the French SS were some of the last holdouts. That fought to the bitter end. Because they knew what was going to happen to them when they got sent back to France. They were getting killed no matter what happened. But anyways, why did they go after XQC? Remember, everybody's crying. Why didn't you go after XQC? Well, you go after XQC. Felix Lingel. Yes, the XQC. Up in the French Canadian. Why did they go after him? First, his reaction occurred 6 hours after the release, which gave people ample time to watch. They point out that nobody had an opportunity to watch the original beforehand otherwise. They say XQC did not make statements expressing malicious intent to siphon away the original. Yeah. So there you go. That's why everybody's like, but my XQC. They give you a reason why. That's an acceptable reason. They say TEI significantly narrows the scope of the subpoenas. And they talked about this. The Snark Mods Council contacted me, and he says on August 4th, the same day I served the Reddit subpoenas and Discord subpoena collectively. That's interesting here. And I don't know if this has been commented on yet. I haven't seen it. The same day that Ethan's attorney serves the subpoena, the Snark Mods attorney contacts Ethan's attorney. The same day it happens, which means somebody at Reddit was contacting these people. The Snark Mods Council is not Reddit's council, Ag. The Snark Mods have their independent own attorney. So Reddit has its own lawyers. The Snark Mods have their own lawyer. That's interesting. I kind of wonder if that's a bit of a hint that Reddit is actually in contact with its mods. Why is Reddit administration and Reddit legal telling everybody what's going on? And why is it being communicated to the mods who aren't part of the Reddit team? Like official Reddit staff and administration. Wow, it's almost like they really are working hand in hand, as was alluded to. And yes, Not K is correct. One of the mods allegedly claimed they were working at Reddit. Yes. This once again reinforces the notion that Reddit may be liable for all of this at the end of the day. Yeah. Huh. How will that work? How is that going to work? I think that's a problem for them. And I didn't get this far in this chat. I'm actually reacting to this part live. I didn't get this far before I ran out of time today. That's a problem for Reddit. That seems like that's an admission here. You know, the Snark mod couldn't just, their attorney couldn't let it wait a fucking day. The same day it happens, he comes running in with his hair on fire. So he received an email from the Snark mod requesting copies of subpoenas and had time to meet and confer. Regarding the motion to quash, a few minutes later, I responded, and I attached subpoenas and offered to provide any other documents that they required. I also offered to meet and confer 2 days later in the afternoon. I requested to know the grounds for the quash, and the true and correct copy of my emails are attached, Exhibit 67. We'll take a look at those. I'm not reacting. This is not fair use. Yeah, well. Counsel for the Snark mod sent me a file link to upload the exhibits. During the meet and confer, counsel also provided in brief the grounds for the motion. A few minutes later, I informed them the video files are being uploaded. And they say they conducted a meet and confer via video conference. During the meet and confer, I was transparent about the arguments in opposition to the motion. It became apparent to me the meet and confer was premature because my questions about the motion were frequently met with silence. They were kind of fucking winging it sounds like, on the Reddit side. The mods they're running around with their hair on fire. So, we decided to adjourn and meet and confer later. And this is the day after Reddit and Discord were about to file their objections. Which, they point out that the mods' concerns during the first meet and confer. He says, during the meet and confer, I did try to ameliorate, meaning put them at ease. You know, I have offered to have TEI execute a declaration. Their identities would be only known for purposes of the Denham's action, the Frogan action, the Casey-tron action. He promised to grant them extensions to file their motion to quash, and would inform Reddit and Discord to abstain from responding until the motion to quash was decided. This is actually this is professional lawyering right here. This is how you have to do it. You have to cooperate. You have to, speaking of talking about the Nazis, you have to collaborate. You have to collaborate, chat. This is very professional. This is professional lawyering. Even though he's Lex Luthor and he hired a nasty Jew hatchet man to scalp and take care of his dirty work, this guy's doing it very professionally. Doing it very, very professionally. And this makes Ethan and them look awesome. It makes them look very reasonable, which helps a lot when you're trying to convince a judge you're the good guy. It says, shortly after the meet and confer, the mod sent an email memorializing what we discussed. And it says they also discussed the meet and confer. They say Reddit objects, Discord did not. I received Reddit's objections to the subpoena. I did not receive any objection from Discord. And they say, I informed the Snark mods of the objection and provided them with a copy. My attempts to schedule a meet and confer with Reddit's counsel and also Discord's lack of an objection. So he provided him with all the documents. He said, I recommended we continue the meet and confer till I could speak with Reddit's counsel. To which counsel for the Snark mods agreed. And we know those guys are talking to each other. We know these guys are talking. Reddit's counsel and the Snark mods counsel. They're 100% talking. And they say later informed that we would do the meet and confer with Reddit's counsel on August 21st. And then he said, I did my meet and confer with Reddit. And he said since the mods would be filing a motion to quash, Reddit elected to not intervene. With once again, they should have left Reddit to fight the battle for themselves. I still think they should have let Reddit fight the battle. It would have cost them nothing to do. Which also makes me wonder who's paying for this lawyer for the mods. But, General Motors' office is burning down. Oof, killing firefighters. Oh no, that's not good. Joe Schmo. But at the end of the day, I don't know why the mods jumped in like this. There's so many things here. Like I said, That big thing about the mods knowing right away their disclosures that they're involved and they're like this with Reddit staff and the administrators. Let Reddit fight the battle for you. Let Reddit fight the battle for you. But Reddit's going to hold back. And you guys have noticed we didn't get into this further. Yeah, Reddit has better lawyers and more money, 100%. I agree they do. But Reddit's going to wait the outcome of the Snark mods motion to quash. And they said informing the mods council of the outcome of the meeting confer with Reddit. He said, I informed the Snark mods about what transpired. And then at the second meet and confer, we did it again. And when I asked questions to learn more about the arguments, the information was very limited. I recognize the transparency I offered would not be reciprocated. And he could be as transparent as he wants because, once again, Ethan Kline is holding the cards. Ethan Kline controls the high ground right now. The Snark mods are in fucking defilade somewhere, and they can't poke their heads up over the parapet. You know, they're stuck and pinned down while Ethan's just sitting there just gunning away on them. Yeah, you really wish all... Yes, let's fucking go, yes. And I really wish all sides would lose. I do too, but we can't. We have to pick a winner, chat. They made further concessions. Ethan made further concessions. We wouldn't reveal the names of the Snark mods and not address them in their individual capacities, so long as they avoid a situation where Ethan and Hila have to defend themselves. I also attached a letter I sent to Discord to obtain approval for sending it out. I agreed to narrow the scope of the subpoena and would provide those terms the following day, and I would extend the deadline for the Snark mods to file their quash by 8 days. Counsel for the Snark mod said, can we up to the 15th? To which I agreed. Remember, chat, I've talked about this before. When you're in these situations where you're like, no, I object all the time, you look like a fucking asshole. I agree. Fuck it. Take all the time. Take all the time in the world. You want more time? Sure. Doesn't fucking hurt. It's not hurting anybody. How do you put someone's balls in a vice? I mean, take the balls and open the jaws and then tighten the jaws. There's not a whole lot to it. Like, it's not a very, yeah. There's not a lot to this. He says, I also promised counsel for the mods that if Discord did comply, I would not review the documents and notify counsel. Think about that. I'll get the discovery, but I won't review it yet. These guys are doing a great job. These guys are doing a good job. You know, we agreed to narrow the scope of the subpoenas. You know, the subpoenas would not encompass communications protected by the Stored Communications Act. That the phrase all documents would be narrowed to encompass only personal identifying information. And Discord and Reddit shall only provide the PIIs of individuals authorized by the court. So they even agreed to narrow it down so much. They say that later the Snark mods informed me that counsel's clients would not publicly discuss the Ethan or its employees or make this representation in their declarations. They point out that this was incorrect as the Snark mods made this representation in their declarations. 2, that counsel did not represent Roman P. Remember, Roman P is the guy who claims he fucking works there. And they say, initially I took the mod's representation of not representing at face value. After having reviewed the declarations, I now have doubts. I do not impute counsel making a knowing misrepresentation. Rather, I believe the Snark mods have misrepresented their identities to counsel, particularly in light of the other misrepresentations contained in their declarations. Yeah. Imagine that, the fucking mods are lying. The mods are lying. They say counsel's clients would not agree for their identities to be disclosed to Ethan, Hila, or even under a protective order, and would seek attorney's eyes-only designation for their identities. Well, we didn't get that. They wanted full redactions of it. They just submitted redacted stuff. So it's interesting that they claimed that and then they didn't do it. So the Snark mods got an extension to file that was granted. Additionally, The counsel spoke to me over the telephone to address legal issues. There were further concessions to narrow the subpoenas. I offered to narrow requests 15 and 16 in the Reddit subpoena for only information who were moderators on January 31st instead of January 1st through February 28th, 2025. So not only that, but it's like the day it happened, not even the people in the lead up, but only from the day it happened forward. And still they rejected this. You know why? Because they're gonna make these people fucking suffer. And I'd say to summarize, we have narrowed the scope of the subpoenas. We've agreed not to discuss it. We've done everything we can. And they say the sole purpose is for seeking the PIIs is to pursue claims for contributory copyright infringement. Yes, but we also know, yes, that's the official sole purpose, but Ethan's going to accumulate this information. Information is a currency right now, and Ethan is going to collect each shekel that is out there. Knowledge is power, and yes, he's gaining intelligence on all this stuff. He's accumulating that, and that's stuff he can use later. He can use those bits of knowledge to go cause damage later. They say neither its owners have any intention to pursue any other claim against the Snark mods at this time. Well, the Snark mods assert that the subpoena seeks information on individuals who were never even moderators on the Snark at all. They say the mods do not specify which accounts identified are not Snark mods whatsoever, and that's a problem. Yes. The journey is good part of the punishment. It is. They talk about the necessity. We really need these subpoenas. We can't pursue the claims of contributory infringement. They say there's no other way to do this. There's no other way to do it. Why the proposed orders are not workable. It would hamper my ability to prosecute their claims if we're doing attorney's eyes only on this shit. And their miscellaneous assertions are all bullshit. They say at the beginning of the copyright action, counsel for the Triller Fight Club case represented two attorneys representing Ethan Kline that Ryan Kavanaugh, and that's another case Ethan had, was a driving force behind the copyright action. This is a case Ethan had to settle with Ryan Kavanaugh. Ethan lost it. That's something that came out recently. As a result, Ethan was led to believe, albeit erroneously, Kavanaugh was responsible for the lawsuit and discussed Kavanaugh on the podcast. They say the first lawsuit was a tortious interference action. And they go on to talk about some things over here, this other case involving Ethan. They say the next lawsuit was resolved as a copyright action. And they say ultimately TEI brought a claim for false advertising due to false statements Triller made about Ethan to promote their settlement program. While claiming $50 million in damages, the case settled for a little over $3,000. Sweet Bovine says, has Phil slid into your DMs asking you to work pro bono for him to sue detractors and restreamers? I would never comment on that. Whether he did or did not, I would never comment on that. I don't. If people come to me for information, I will, because I view that's confidentiality. That's a consultation. I will never disclose that. I don't do that. I will never disclose it. Whether he does or doesn't, I will never tell you. If I get authorized to disclose it, then I would. But I have no comment on anything that people may approach me for. But that includes each one of you out there. If you came to me for something, I take confidentiality very seriously. I don't weaponize it and keep it in my back pocket to fuck with you later when you're, get blackout drunk on a stream. So no, I don't, and I'm talking about Nick. No, confidentiality is critical to me. I don't ever want to violate it. And I would only violate it in, if I didn't get permission, if other rules for 1.6 were necessary, such as to protect myself at a hearing or some sort of action involving it. But otherwise, no, I will never disclose. And I can't tell you if I have or haven't. So, no, there's no Dear Phil stream. So that's a yes or maybe a no. It's I can neither confirm nor deny. So, Clyde was in Honduras today. Oh no, I don't know about that. So they say finally the defamation action concerning Ethan repeating allegations made by Ryan Kavanaugh's former business partners in a verified complaint was withdrawn and publicly retracted. And yes, Ethan had to do a retraction for it, but that's how they addressed it. Hold on, chat. Hold on. Okay. So they say Ethan lost their anti-slap motion, which is true, and it was affirmed on an appeal. After 4 years of litigating, Ethan decided to best resolve the dispute in mediation, and part of the settlement was a prepared statement he did have to read. Therefore, the assertions made by the Does are misleading. There's some shit here about Noah Samson. Noah Samson calling me a terrorist. Noah Samson's a cringe piece of shit breadtuber in his own right. So, we're not worried about that. I don't really give a shit. I'm not really giving a shit about that one. Now, these are so, these are screenshots from his secret Reddit account that he's got going. So, chat, now we can look and see what kind of secret stuff does Ethan's Jewish hatchet man do. He likes the NHL. I don't believe it. He likes NASCAR. Some Jewish feller liking NASCAR. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it at all. They talk about here's these threads. He goes and finds the things here. There's the H3 Snark mega thread. This is all the stuff they're talking about. If you guys have never saw these, but these things got sanitized by the Reddit mods. There was a Snark live chat, and this is, all this, it just shows you all the things that are going on here. These are just this is just further going through it. This is more stuff from the H3 Snark. They say, we encourage folks to watch on YouTube since it doesn't play ads or contribute to their view counts. This is them submitting takedown requests. This is Ethan's attorney filling out the DMCA takedowns. This is going to be the responses. They're going to come back. But, you go through this and it just shows what's going on here. And they go through all of this. They go through all the responses. And once again, this is just documenting everything. And once again, here's Roman P. Remember, we went over some of this stuff before with this Roman P guy. And this Roman P guy's been talking all kinds of shit, and it's like, buddy, should you really be doing that? This is, we talked about this. Because he goes on and he says, we were not thrown under the bus. And they go through all of this, and this is once again a fucking Redditor trying to act smart and goes through all of this stuff here. This is just so fucking stupid. Why would you talk about your case? This is why you don't talk about your case. But Redditors, I'm glad you did, because it has given us corn to harvest. It has given us corn to harvest. This is it's also where they get mad at Mindset because he talks about Saint Fentanyl St. Fentanyl George. Reddit has not even had a chance to respond, so was Mindset making a big deal? Because Reddit's waiting to see what happens to you guys and how fucked you're going to get, because Reddit doesn't want to co-sign if you guys have fucked them over really bad. Reddit's going to cut you loose. Reddit's going to cut you guys loose. Like, you thought Denim's cutting you loose is bad. This is going to be like in Master and Commander. They're fucking chopping at the fucking lines, and you're just going to be sent adrift. That is like that is the saddest part of the movie, where they're just chopping at the lines and that guy's trying to swim back to the wreckage, and they cut him loose before the ship sinks. Yeah. Yeah, they're fucked. But yeah, that's true. This hoe ain't loyal. She ain't loyal. You know, nothing has happened yet. A lot has fucking happened here, homie. You know, I hate to disappoint you guys, but I have not been in contact with Hasan. Who have you been in contact with? You know, they go on to talk about shifting the Ryan Kavanaugh lawsuits. And he says, a final message from me. Keep supporting Denims. You know, save this screenshot. It said as your wallpaper. Just remember this for when I am vindicated. Well, we are going to save that. We are going to save that, chat. We are going to save that. This is from Idris Elba when he was, I think, probably doing the show Luther, which is a really good crime show on the BBC that they did. He did really, really good in it. There's some pretty cool episodes in that show. Then there's more, you know, Roman P's just keeping everybody in line. He says, I've gotten couple of very pleasant messages from people with no connection to H3. One guy sent me a phone screenshot of him browsing Kiwi Farms. Okay, so what? I don't really fucking care. You guys are all faggots anyway. You guys are all el fagatos, as they might say. But anyways, this is here. I like this. Actually, I'm not a big red guy, but I do like the red color. This is actually a nice little setup on their thing here. But yeah, mine wouldn't work. My name doesn't, like, big enough there, but huh. This is their response to Alexander O'Brien, who's probably the O'Brien Potatoes guy. And they're saying that this is part of the DMCA takedown counter notification stuff. And yes, these are confidential settlement communications that are not usable under the federal rules of evidence. And they say you're posted and constitute fair use, and this is what you have to do when you have the other side of a takedown notice, when you do the counter notification. This is the shit that happens. So when you hear people and you tell them, oh, counter notify, this is the other side of that. Because you have to give them your information, and you might get in trouble from there. This is Denim's acting like a whore. You know, this is once again Denim's looking like a hoe. Her peak viewers were the thing. And you can see she had like 45,000 at that point. You talk about January 2025. This is the nuke. This is just, once again, they're saying this is a physical copy of something. Another physical copy. Another physical copy. And then this is some of the information from the Reddit team. These are the Reddit mods attorneys getting involved. And he says, I will run the proposals past my clients. I have not revealed the number of your clients, nor will I. But to obtain approval, I will indicate the number of your clients is larger than anticipated. It would benefit us all. So notice that email is not in here, but it sounds like there's more. A bunch of them have run scared, and they're all working, like they all went to this attorney. They all went to this attorney. So it sounds like there's a shitload of them, or a bunch of them are scared. We don't really know, but there's a lot of them. And once again, Ethan's attorney says, I've been brainstorming about all the ideas. I think I could persuade my client to narrow the subpoenas to only include the individuals who were moderators on January 31st, 2025. That's the date of the nuke and the show. And he says, I would prefer to answer this question by phone. I understand. I will not run this past my client before you answer, as I promised for you your input for broaching the issue of removing some of your clients from the ambit of the subpoenas. And this is classy lawyering right here. You act like a goon when you need to act like a goon. You act with grace when you can act with grace. Sometimes you do that. You demonstrate, I'm being graceful. You don't just walk through and just start executing everybody who surrendered. Sometimes you let some of them up and walk away. And then you wipe out the rest of them. But you don't just walk in there right off the bat and just everybody. Sometimes you're like, you can go. It's kind of like Boardwalk Empire when they kill the guys in the barn. What are you going to do, shoot me? Yes. You have to. But this is being done the right way. He says, I also appreciate you informing the declaration of your clients and you don't represent Roman P. Well, once again, remember, Roman P says he's like a bunch of the different mods all at once. Yeah, Denims, that's a retarded name. Yes. And it just goes on here. And, yes, this is how this works here. Did you receive the letters from, Discord? They're all worried about what's going on here. And this is where Ethan's attorney comes through and he's like, look, here's what I'll do. I'll modify all of this. Let me know. I'll modify it all down. And they're like, nope, fuck you. We don't want to do any of it. And it's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do here? Like, you're leaving, being left with no option but to fuck you guys to death. And that's what's going to happen here. They're going to get fucked to death. And this was a long email chain here. So it's just not going to end well. It's not going to end well. It's not going to end well for these guys. This is, actually, here we go. Noah Sampson's just a complete fucking toolbox. But anyways, this is interesting that Mudahar, and I'm assuming that's, Mudahar, the non-engineer, and Ethan Kline have the same attorney. That's interesting. I did not know that. Yes, some have to live to warn the others. Yes. As Nucky Thompson says, tell him what you've seen here tonight. Now, but yes, Mudahar and Ethan are the same attorney. That's interesting. Did not know that. But there you go. And what is the problem here? Noah Sampson, says the YouTubers who backed a genocide. Like, yeah, okay. That's, this goes on and on and on and on. And yeah, they got, you can see, if you see names here like Bad Empanada, that's another bread tube faggot and communist. They're all shitbags. Don't worry about them. And that's Ethan Kline's attorney's declaration. Yeah, this is not looking good for these guys. This is, and before Mudahar lives above Ethan's garage. This is not looking good for the Reddit mods. Ooh, buddy, this is not looking good. And I know I could say, they're cooked, they're toast. And like Roman P is right, 100%, 200%, 300% toast. They are. They're fucked. Now that Ethan's attorneys come in and clarified everything. Oh no. They are absolutely screwed. I've heard this too, that Bad Empanada may have been the one who called. I don't know if that's true. I don't know who did, but that's kind of what they're talking about there. You keep empanadas in the fridge, not a desk drawer like Maduro. No, but this is probably game over for the Snark mods. This is probably game over. This is going to be it. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to get out of this. I don't know what they're going to be able to do here that helps them. I mean, like they are really kind of fucked. They are really kind of fucked here. Um. Oh, okay. Um. Huh. This is okay. Oh, it needs. Okay. Ooh, I messed up. I'll get that fixed. I'll get that fixed. Huh. I gotta fix my calendar because there's something coming up that I'm not ready for. Well, actually, I'm not on this case, but I'm gonna have to. The court's like, well, I'm not on this. So why did I? I'm gonna have to call them in the morning and be like, hey, I'm not on this thing, and this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I've never heard this case before. Um, Sorry, chat. We're doing live TV here. Um, okay. And there we go. All right, I'm gonna have to actually send out an email, and a motion tonight, and be like, I just got to point it, or I didn't even. It's like I need to point to it. It's like I'm CC'd on it, and it says like I've been retained by a party, and I'm like, no, these people have. I don't even know who these people are. So I'm like, what's the deal here? I think they fucked up when they were typing shit out, but yeah. Oh, so is there a Mrs. Sean? Well, no, there is a Mrs. There is a future Mrs. Martin 2.0. No, there is not a Mrs. Sean. Um, um, so no. Yes, but 2.0 does exist, so it's not a Mrs. Sean. But no, guys, I don't see how Reddit, given how much this is intertwined, I think Reddit cuts these people loose. They have to. I don't see how defending them helps Reddit at this point. There is another Sean Martin lawyer. No, there are in Ohio. There are two attorneys named Sean Martin, and we are within like probably about 4 years of entering the practice of law at the same time. Our names are spelled the same way. We have different middle names. So, what did you do with the previous Mrs. Martin 1.0? How we went our separate ways. Are you both fat? I don't think he's fat. I've only met him once, and that was like a long time ago. Is the Swiffer just going to live there now? Yes. I'm just going to leave it there now. Just let me keep working on stuff. But at the end of the day, guys, I don't know where the Reddit mods go from here. I mean, they fucked up. They're going to get doxxed. Like, you can't stop what's coming. You can't stop what's coming. There ain't nothing you can do about this. You guys played a fucking game, and you fucked with a guy who has fuck you money. And people who have fuck you money will light that money on fire to fuck you. And Ethan Kline is lighting money on fire. Remember, I told you this. A lawsuit. If you file a lawsuit against somebody, there's a lot of times you are taking a pile of your hard-earned money and you're shoving it in the middle of the table. And you take out a match and you go, woof. And maybe you don't, and you probably aren't going to get any of it back. Sometimes you get a little of it back. Get a little back. Sometimes you get a bunch of it back. And then every once in a while you get all of it back. And very rarely you get all of it back plus. Ethan doesn't care. He'll make more money. Ethan looks at this like, fuck it, I'll make. Like, obviously, this situation is going to get his money back, but even if he was going to lose it, he'll make more money. Ethan Kline can make more money, and he's got a lot of money to start with, so he has no problem lighting some of it on fire. I mean, once again, these people went after him and his family. Like, at that point, like, he's got kids. Think about what you'd do if you had the money to go fuck with people who fucked with your kids. A lot of things. A lot of things. So, yeah, he's been making a lot of money talking about it streaming. Yep. 2.0 is chilling with Mama JF right now. No. She really is just lying down. She's not feeling well. Let's see here. We're hitting the era of lolcow consequences, and it's glorious. That's true, yes. That is true. Any corporation will throw you under the bus when you become a liability. You'd like to think so, but Reddit is fucking weird because it's fucking run by lefties. And lefties do retarded shit when it comes to their stuff. And they're probably a bunch of troons on top of that, so they're already fucking unstable. So there's no guarantee what's going to happen. But yes, we're going to have total Janny death. TJD. Total Janny death. Total Janny death. I did not JF her. But yes, the Tylenol is strong in the chat. Of course it is. This is a Tylenol-friendly chat. It's like the spice. The Tylenol must flow. I'm surprised I've been assigned to it. Well, no, I wasn't even assigned. It actually says I am, like, counsel of record. And it's like, I've never entered an appearance on a case. So I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? I think they accidentally, like, oh, it was meant to go to somebody else. And they probably weren't, like, I know for a fact this court, I had to call, like, they called me. And they left a message saying, hey, can you call us back? And I called him back, like, an hour later. And I talked to one of the clerks. And I'm sure she may have been typing up an order while she's talking to me. It's like, oh, it's Sean. Boop, 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 bump, done. I'm like, I could see that happening. But no, like, it's like saying I've entered an appearance and stuff. And I'm like, I didn't get paid. I don't know who the fuck these people are. So no. It's a little weird there. It's a little weird. Can I choose my own D? If it's TJD, no. Are they going to pay you? Well, no, because it's not my case. I'm assuming these people already have an attorney they've paid. So no, I'm not going to like, show up at a video hearing tomorrow and be like, hey, you guys owe me money too. Like, I'm going to file a motion first thing in the morning and be like, I'm sure you guys meet somebody else because I'm not the attorney of record there. Death by Snoo Snoo? You really want to snoo? You want to snoo snoo a Reddit mod? One of those Reddit Jannies, buddy. You need get some help. Snoo snooing a Reddit Janny. John Coleman says I was given liquid Tylenol and placed some morphine. I had no pain. They have like liquid Tylenol like little kids take. Zakuza said, if I had Ethan's money, there wouldn't be a lawsuit. There'd be a missing persons report. Well, at that point, then that money doesn't keep you out of trouble because then you're going to have to flee to Israel for non-extradition purposes because Israel does not extradite people. They don't. That's a free legal tip. Let's see here. What else we got? I'm trying to catch up here. Let's see here. So Clippy says, do you think if someone watches an episode and gives a 10 to 15 minute review of the watch at the end, is that fair use? I would recommend you not do that. I'd recommend you react live. Because if it's all the way at the end and then you react, you could basically cut off the reaction. So no, I would recommend you react as you go, like EFAPing it every frame of pause is the best way to react. Or do a pre-recorded video where you intersperse clips. But no, going the whole way through would be an awful, awful way of doing it. I would not recommend that. But here's the thing. I'm not your lawyer. If you really want to do this, talk to a lawyer where you live. Talk to a lawyer who does copyright. But yes, on its face, just letting it run all the way through, that doesn't sound like a good idea. The better way to do it is, like, look at what Ethan Kline did. Look at what Sargon did. You're going to have to do some research. But yes, the best way to avoid problems is to properly transform it, have proper commentary. Let's see here. Adam says, retards cannot make content. It's not bum fights of 2006. Well, yeah. Jefferson Post says, Asmongold tells people to like the videos. And that's good, but that's not always enough. Like, it makes you look like a good... Oh, God, like... Oh. God, it makes my... Oh, no. Like, see? That's too long. I gotta trim those. I didn't realize that. Makes my mustache look big and fluffy, though. Look at that thing. I almost have the middle part covered up. And that's really hard to do for me because I have the porn stash genetics. I can't make the middle cover up. As Miguel tells people like the videos, that's helpful, but still, you got to react properly. But that is a good guy thing for Asmongold to do. Maybe one day Asmongold will like my video or watch my shit. Get that reaction stuff out there. Meme Copium says, did we do it, Reddit? Yes, we did. Matty B says, I'd rather watch Doog make Plastic Boom Boom. Yes. Guys, Doog and Ashley, also known as Carnicon, he took some time away. He now has a YouTube channel where he synthesizes explosive material and shows you how to do it. All the way up to TNT, PETN, all the different things. He's also now experimenting with plasticizing them and trying to stabilize them so they can be used as a form of plastic explosive. He also teaches how to make blasting caps, which that is actually, I know somebody who knows things in chemistry, and he says the maths on all Doog stuff. So, yes, it all works. I can tell you that much. Urban Decay says, and this is a question from earlier, wouldn't this be like in the past of bars playing a sporting events without a license for every TV or pirating pay-per-view in a commercial space? There were some weird cases of stuff like that's happened in the past, but those things were all before people were really fighting and able to combat things, and people were scared and settled out. But no, this isn't kind of like that because, I mean, like in the sense of like they're showing stuff, yes, but at some point, as long as you're not illegally pay-per-viewing or pirating a pay-per-view, it's a little different there. No Mayo's been a member for 9 months. Is Meme getting deported from Japan after the new prime minister? Maybe. Yeah, Japan is a very militantly Japanese prime minister. So, James Reed says, I missed the safe. Well, the safe is actually on the other side of the computer. And when I'm done organizing in here, which may be over the weekend, like I said, I might have time to stream this weekend, Chad. It depends on what my schedule is going to look like coming up here. If I do, I'll get it all done and I'll film a video. You guys are members. Members only. You guys will be able to take a look at it first. You get to see what's there. Yes, Ethan wants to prolong suffering. I think so. He wants to make these people suffer. I mean, this, like I said, this is a vendetta ride for him, and he's going to vendetta the shit out of it. EDW says they don't extradite because they're cheap. Well, extradition is on the people seeking extradition, so America would have to come do it. No, Israel just says we aren't going to let you extradite Israeli nationals. We don't let you do it. We will not extradite them. We will not surrender them to you. They are part of our tribe, as it were, so to speak. Yes, talk to a local attorney, just like the song says, yes. Like that girl had 300 subs and she got over 100K because of him. Gotta be nice if I get to fucking 27,000 at this point. We're stuck at like 26,900. Grow it out. Don't be a pussy. Yeah, well, it looks like shit if I do that. It looks like shit if I do that. It's just, this is about as good as I'm willing to tolerate it. I'm not going to look like I'm in ZZ Top or the Eagles. Casey's a good VTuber. Asmongold did her good, yeah. Let me see here. Trying to catch up. It's not as fun as it sounds. Once you realize you can make anything, it's just a pain in the ass and it ain't worth it. Well, yeah, but it's nice to know I could go make a couple of pounds of something and go like, I'm going to blow things up. Don't do that unless you have a federal explosives license, chat. Be careful. I don't know anything about pirate streaming copyright material. You're right. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Apparently the new Japanese prime minister is a metal fan. Yes. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Their prime minister looks pretty neat. Meme's gonna have to go back to New Zealand. Yes. You could see Sean's butthole if you sign up for locals. Yes. You pay $100. That comes in your email. So I lost 100 since yesterday. No, I'm at 20. Hold on here. What am I at right now? I am at 26,895. So yeah, there you go. Meh. Booyah, chat. What did you do? I don't know. Have you considered pirating an H3H3 stream to increase my follower count? Yes. Let's see here. For 1,000, Sean will fill a Pringles can for you. No, we're done. All right, chat, we're going to land the plane. Like I said, TLDR, the mods, they're fucked. This is probably it for them. This information provided by Ethan's attorney, they're done. They're done-ski. I don't see how they survive this. The suffering will be legendary even in hell. So, with that said, chat, if you guys are new, we do our stop by tomorrow night, 9:30. We have our weekly Wednesday night show. All kinds of stuff we cover. What do we got? Some show topics. We got to talk about Drake's lawsuit against Kendrick Lamar. Got dismissed because Drake ain't not like us. Diddy is appealing his case. There's a guy who snuck into a jail pretending to be an attorney to see his girlfriend. It's kind of funny. And then talking about what happened at the Louvre. Some guys pulled some like Ocean's 11 shit and stole like the Napoleonic crown jewels from the Louvre in broad daylight, which is fucking hilarious. And we'll talk about some like art law and some things like that that's out there. But that's going to be tomorrow night at 9:30, guys. So I hope to see you there. By there, I mean here on the YouTube. On the tubes of you. So, tonight is Wednesday. Yeah, I said tomorrow night, right? Yeah. The Wednesday night shows are actually on Thursdays. Okay, yes. I said tomorrow night for the Wednesday night stream. Okay, sorry. Tomorrow night's the Thursday night show, because we do it on Thursdays. Are we going to talk about Mangione? Yes, we are going to do that too. We're going to talk about Luigi. We got all kinds of stuff we're going to address, chat. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and remember until next time, chat, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty, except for you, the Snark mods. You guys are fucked. You guys are as fucked as Casey, Tron, and Denims and Frogan are. So, good luck, mods. Good luck, Jannies. Mop it up. Good night, chat.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. just don't talk to cops. Even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the